Agitate for Biafra. Agitate for Biafra. My right to agitate. My right. They turned it from treasonable felony now to terrorism. Standing in trial or coming to try me is a terrorist. That's what their law says. Section what me? As simple as that. Section 2, subsection 3F of Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. That's what it says. Any court considered to try me is committed an act of terrorism. Yes. Very clear. You cannot violate a treaty that Nigeria entered into and then come to try that very person. Is not done anywhere in the world at all. So you must be aware of that. So that is why there is all these ridiculous delays. That is what Supreme Court said. I did not jump bail. My home was invaded. They came to kill me and I survived. They came to Kenya to kidnap me, brought me back to this country and seeking to try me, which the law says cannot happen. You cannot violate a treaty that Nigeria entered into and then hope to stand on that illegality to conduct a trial. Is not done anywhere in the world. And what happened in my case?
Okay, finally, the court, section has ended, and Nnamdi Kanu still maintains that under no jurisdiction with Omotosho trying. What's your take as regards this?
Well, I think we have gotten to that point of we need to properly begin to define things the way they are. I think Nnamdi Kanu is getting a lot more fresh breath now because there's nobody that's going to say, sit down, let me, take it up from here. He's bent on getting straight to the point. Before now, we started hearing names of Aisha Buhari is going to be involved. Wike and the rest of them are going to be involved, and of course Buhari's name should be, but he said the wife Aisha should represent the husband anyway, but from the revelation we are seeing now, from what Jason Omotosho did, giving the voices that are of advocacy coming from the elite political class from the southern part of the country. I make reference to Ned Woko, who is a serving senator presently, where he came out publicly on air and disclosed to the whole world, that Nnamdi Kanu cannot be tried because one, there's a court order, that has not been vacated, So, and this is what Nnamdi Kanu has actually maintained for a very long time when he was saying that, right here in this court, I will defeat them. So the matter has gone beyond, what people think, even though it's clearly that Nnamdi Kanu is being held not according by law, but according to interest. Now that interest now has become a national embarrassment, had put Nigeria to a point of mockery, especially coming from the judicial institutions. Where everybody believes the law, they are the holders of the law, the hope of the common man. Even if you get there, definitely by omission or commission, you'll be able to get justice. But it shows very clearly that, among all the judges in Nigeria, the Nigerian Judicial Council, the NBA, and so many of them, could not be able to provide a particular judge. Immediately, Binta Nyako left. And Binta Nyako told the whole world as at that time that Nnamdi Kanu is a higher reality, and it will be very difficult for him to squeeze him to a corner. But when people thought that was not true, we saw Jason Omotosho, emerging from nowhere. But this Jason Omotosho has a very controversial judgment that has painted him in another angle when he passed a certain judgment in Rivers State against the governor elect then, talking about Simi Fubara. So from there, we begin to start to know who this James Omotosho really is. And we begin to see that his judgment, pronunciation, towards Nnamdi Kanu might likely, not being according to law, might be according to, a certain agreed, plan, to make it look as if it is the law that judged him. But you can see all of a sudden, Nnamdi Kanu was able to twist, that, dangerous ambush by the federal government, and by saying that it's going to involve some kind of witnesses. I'm not giving the whole world how we got to a point where Nnamdi Kanu has, finally split the Nigerian judiciary, split the federal system, and split anything that has to do with the foundation that lead to legal interpretations in Nigeria concerning the issue that has to do with terrorism and treasonable charges. We can go along, but what they don't know is that this Nnamdi Kanu's case has attracted, world court art. I repeat, it has attracted world court art to the extent. I think that's where the federal government needs to be very careful now, because the judge, the Supreme Court judge of one of the nations in Africa, I don't want to mention the name, but his name ended with Edo, made it very clearly that there's a extent the Nigerian government will push Nnamdi Kanu to defend himself, which is a suicide mission. It might get to a point that the world court act will be invoked on Nigeria, and Nnamdi Kanu will definitely walk away with the referendum right there inside the court. With the referendum, that's what the man is saying. Right there inside the court. We have seen people who have gone to court before to defend themselves. It's nothing new. But in this kind of situation, well, a little bit dangerous for Nnamdi Kanu. But I think to an extent, he has been able to tell the whole world how innocent he is.
Well, you said, right there in the court that the world court can declare or give Nnamdi Kanu the referendum of Biafra that he wants. But this is Nigeria that has not obeyed the 2022 UN Working Committee order to release Nnamdi Kanu. So do you think that this government will want to obey the World Court Act, just like you said?
Let me just tell you, too many fish in the pond can stir up the mud. That's what James Hadley Chase actually said. By the time you begin to gather all the atrocities Nigerian government has carried out against human rights, let me just put it that way, it has become so enormous, and it has become something that has become, the whole world has come to notice it. So at any point the world wants to strike Nigeria, and they are going to strike Nigeria from different angles, just like what we are experiencing in the Middle East currently now. Everything that is happening in Nigeria is being documented, which will be used against Nigeria at any particular time. Can the lawyers or the son or the legal luminaries of this country deny the knowledge that they don't know there's a World Court Act that can be invoked on a situation like where Nnamdi Kanu find himself? That's a clear fact. They will not come and tell you. But you can see the delegates from World Court, who visited Nnamdi Kanu, has already made it publicly that Nigeria should be careful unless they walk away with referendum right there in the court, because by the time and if they fail to do it, that means Nigeria is attracting consequences of international community, World Court, ICC, and a lot of that, and that will be too dangerous for Nigeria. Thank God, to an extent now, the matter has taken place, and it has been adjourned. Nnamdi Kanu has come out very clearly and stated his position that he has gone through the case file, that he didn't see anything incriminating, that he has no case to answer, and this is the position of that man. One, under William Ruto currently now, we saw the decision of the Kenyan court. Not only that, we saw several courts in judgment, saying that this man is innocent, he didn't commit any crime. Not only that, their own Fulani courts too, pronounced judgments that up to the appeal court. And I can give you insight of what the Supreme Court said on each of the charges that was against Nnamdi Kanu. You can go and verify. One was that the Supreme Court ruled that Nnamdi Kanu did not jump in. So there's no justification for that. That is one. Two, that the matter that has gotten to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court made a written, judgment on the matter, and which they are supposed to abide first before any trial. Instead, what did they do? They connived with Buhari, Malami, Femi Adesina. They were the people that held the ground meeting and went and bribed Kenyan police officers to commit criminality and go against the Commonwealth Treaty, which has become a major international embarrassment and threat to Nigerian system and government and judiciary at this moment. And based on that, that is where the lion himself, the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the supreme leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, you know, the unstoppable, the unquenchable, the man who has come to define a certain era and moment, the man who has championed Africanism, the man who has brought another dimension of freedom fighting, a man who has opened destinies to many Africans and have become a reference point in Africa today. I can tell you, so many personalities are talking about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu today, not because of anything, but at least a black man needs to have a rethink. A black man needs to understand that, you know, he too has a destiny on this part of the world. Thank you.
But we've seen